The move I'm about to show you is what I call the weave. Something I use to create opportunities to overtake when the car in front is defending well and knows what they're doing. Thanks to GT Omega for supporting this guide. Get 5% off GT Omega products, such as the prime rig I use, with discount code DannyLee. This is me, but the other driver is Carl Moore, multiple champion of the iRacing League this clip is from, with an I rating of around 5,000, which is loads. When you're up against racers of high skill that don't make many mistakes, you will rarely be gifted opportunities. Drivers like this have no problem hitting their marks and lines time and time again, so if you just wait for an invite, you're going to be there a long time. Instead, you have to try and inject some uncertainty into their driving and create gaps in their defence. The following overtake is for the lead of the race at Imola, 5 minutes from the end, so watch the move and stick around as I unpack it all. That overtake took 5 corners to complete, nearly spanning the entire first sector of the track, through several turns for each contributor to the overtake, but it began with the weave. So let's break things down, and to do that I'll wind back the replay to the previous lap, where I first catch up to Carl and force him to switch to a defensive stance. As I creep up behind him in the slipstream, the upcoming corner is a left turn, so he moves over to the left side of the track and covers it, to discourage me from diving down the inside. The hard braking zone ahead is one of the best opportunities to make an overtake at Imola, so he is right to cover it. I would do the same. I stick to the normal racing line and show no intent to try anything. This time around I'm just observing and thinking about where I might do something on the next lap. On the main straight the following lap, I again find myself in the slipstream and close enough to be a risk for Carl. He moves to the inside line again and repeats that defensive move, and I once again take a passive line, signalling that I'm not ready to attack this lap either. For him, this means perhaps I'm conceding that I just can't get close enough to make a move. But this is me we're talking about. Suddenly, I weave across the track as if I'm going to make a ridiculous do or die lunge down the inside. I'm not gonna do that. I'm planning to move back onto the racing line just as quickly, but Carl doesn't know that, and as he notices me whisk across the track in his rearview mirror, he reflexively nudges his steering wheel to the left just a tiny bit in response, just before he has to brake. It's not much, but that little instinctive flick of the steering wheel sets everything in motion. As I move back onto the ideal line for myself, check out how Carl's entry to this corner, because of his reaction to my weaving move, is tighter on this lap than it was on the last. And as you might already guess, that's bad news for him. As I now follow him through the chicane, you can see how he has to suffer the tighter, slower line, whilst I'm able to swing wider, keep speed up and eat away those last couple attempts separating us. If you know this sequence of corners well, you know that getting the first corner wrong will also spoil the following two. Flying out of this sequence of corners, I've now got a run on Carl, and before he can really decide what to do, I've pulled out and got the tip of my nose alongside. He's boxed in now and he can no longer make that choice. As we fly towards the second chicane, this has now become a game of chicken. I'm hoping that Carl will concede now that I've got the inside line for what's next, which puts him at a disadvantage. He is hoping that I stop this madness, back out and slot in behind him through the chicane. Neither of us back down. As we both hit the brakes as late as possible, we realise we're in this together. We need to respect our own halves of the track in order to make it out intact. The dice is now rolled and it's all down to how well either of us can navigate this tricky chicane off of our normal racing lines. Exiting the chicane, I'm able to take a looser, faster line and I end up out in front, That sausage probably didn't help him much either. That whole overtake was triggered by the weave before the braking zone at the very start, causing Carl to react out of reflex and tighten his approach to the upcoming corner a bit more than he originally intended, causing his exit from the first chicane to be slower than normal and opening the door for me. The weave is the sim racing equivalent of sneezing just as your opponent is taking a penalty kick. Sometimes it's instantly and obviously effective, but like the example shown here, it doesn't have to be dramatic to be worthwhile. If your opponent's usually 99% accurate in their own driving and your actions reduce that to 98% for a brief moment, you're still creating some uncertainty that might just lead to a mistake of some sort and then for you an opportunity. When you're racing against humans, you can exploit the weaknesses we have. We ain't robots and we need time to react. The weave is designed to cause a momentary, involuntary ripple in your opponent's concentration, and what makes it really effective is timing. It's got to be left to the last possible moment so that any distracting effect it actually has interferes with your target's driving at a crucial moment, even if it's just a split-second glance into the mirrors wondering what you're doing back there. A crucial moment could be any point on a track where you've got to make a split-second accurate motion, like hitting the brakes for an upcoming corner or throwing the car into a tricky turn, basically anywhere that requires full concentration. Disturbing that focus is the whole idea of the weave. This move is best used sparingly, so if you are constantly buzzing around in a rearview mirror every single chance you get, your target is going to figure out you don't mean it and will just tune you out. Instead, spending a few laps behind a tough opponent without showing any aggression can build a false sense of security for them, a bubble of safety that you can then pop at a time of your choosing to hopefully have more of an impact at the right time. In other words, by doing it less, it appears more genuine and alarming to them when you do. Above all, only try this if you're justifiably confident in your ability and you can trust yourself not to collide with your target or send yourself into a tank slapper that ends your race. If you have cars following closely behind you that themselves are in overtaking range of you, you shouldn't weave, as it's inconsiderate to them and it could be labelled as blocking. In any case, I hope this inspires you to get crafty when you're trying to break down a strong opponent. Tough nuts take a lot of cracking, but this might help. Do subscribe for more videos like this and check out all my other stuff too, and don't forget to get 5% off GT Omega bits and bobs using code DannyLee. Cheers!